Tuf Voyaging Prologue. Hello? Hello. Yes, I see it works. Good. I am Rerek Hortzveni, apprentice factor, speaking a warning to whoever finds my words. Dusk comes now, for me the last. The sun is sunk beneath the western cliffs, staining the land with blood, and now the twilight eats its way towards me, inexorably. The stars come out, one by one, but the only star that matters burns night and day and night. It is always with me, the brightest thing in the sky but for the sun. It is the plague star. This day I buried Janelle. With my own hands I buried her, digging in the hard rocky ground from dawn through late afternoon, until my arms were afire with pain. When my ordeal was done, when the last spadeful of this wretched alien dirt had been thrown upon her head, when the last stone had been placed atop her cairn, then I stood over her and spat upon her grave. It is all her fault. I told her so, not once, but many times as she lay dying. And when the end was near, she finally admitted her guilt. Her fault that we came here. Her fault that we did not leave when we might have. Her fault that she is dead. Yes, no doubt of it. And her fault that I shall rot unburied when my own time comes. My flesh a feast for the beasts of the dark, and the flyers and night hunters we once hoped to trade with. The plague star twinkles but little, shines down upon the land with a clear, bright light. This is wrong. I told Janelle once, a plague star ought to be red. It ought to glower, to drape itself with scarlet radiance, to whisper into the night hints of fire and blood. This clear white purity, what has that to do with plague? That was in the first days, when our charter ship had just set us down to open our proud little trade complex. Set us down and then moved on. In that time the plague star was but one of 50 first magnitude stars in these alien skies. Hard to even pick out. In that time we smiled at it, at the superstition of these primitives, these backward brutes who thought sickness came from the sky. Yet then the plague star began to wax. Night after night it burned more brightly, until it became visible even by day. Long before that time, the pestilence had begun. The flyers wheel against the darkening sky. Gliders they are, and from afar they have a beauty. They call to my mind the shadow gulls of my home place, Budakar, upon the living sea, on the world of Razyar. Yet here is no sea, only mountains and hills and dry desolation. And I know too that these flyers have small beauty when close at hand. Lean and terrible creatures they are, half as tall as a man, with skin like tanned leather pulled tight across their strange hollow bones. Their wings are dry and hard as a drum skin, their talons sharp like daggers, and beneath that great bony crest that sweeps back like a hooded blade from their narrow skulls, their eyes are a hideous red. Janelle said to me they were sentient. They have a tongue, she said. I have heard their voices, thin, keening, screeching voices that scrape raw the nerves. I have never learned to speak this tongue, nor did Janelle. Sentient, she said. We would trade with them. Oh, they wanted no part of us or our trade. They knew enough to steal, yes, and that is where their sentience ended. Yet we and they have this much in common. Death. The flyers die. The night hunters, with their massive twisted limbs and gnarly two-thumbed hands, with their eyes that burn and their bulging skulls like embers from a dying fire, oh, they die too. They have a frightening strength, and those strange great eyes can see in the black when storm clouds cover even the plague star. In their caverns the hunters whisper of the great minds, the masters they served once, the ones who will someday return and call on them to go forth to war once again. Yet the minds do not come. And the night hunters die, even as the flyers, even as those of the more furtive races whose bodies we find in the Flint Hills, even as the mindless beasts, even as the crops and trees, even as Janelle, and I. Janelle told me this would be a world of gold and gems for us. It is a world of death. Hro-Bana was the name in her ancient charts. I will not call it by that. She knew the names of all its peoples. I recall but one, Hroon. That is the true name of the night hunters, a slave race, she said, of the Harangans, the great enemy. Gone now, defeated 1,000 years past. Their slave race is abandoned in that long fall. It was a lost colony, she said, a handful of sentients eager for trade. She knew so much, and I so little. But now I've buried her and spat upon her grave, and I know the truth of it. If slaves they were, then bad slaves surely. For their masters set them upon a hell, beneath the cruel light of the plague star. Our last supply ship came through half a year past. We might have gone. Already the plagues had begun. The flyers crawled upon the mountain summits, tumbled from the cliffs. I found them there, their skin inflamed and oozing fluid, great cracks in the leather of their wings. Night hunters came to us covered in livid boils, and from us they bought umbrellas in great numbers to keep them safe from the rays of the plague star. When the ship landed, we might have gone, yet Janelle said stay. She had names for these sicknesses that killed the flyers and night hunters. She had names for the drugs that would cure these ills. To name a thing is to understand, she thought. We might be healers, gain the brutal trust, and our fortunes would be made. She bought all the medicines that ship carried, and sent for others, and we began to treat these plagues that she had named. When the next plague came, she named it too, and the next, and the next, and the next. Yet there were plagues beyond counting. First she ran out of drugs, and soon out of names as well. And this dawn, I dug her grave. She had been a slender, active female, but in dying she grew very stiff, and her limbs puffed up to twice their size. I had to dig a large grave to fit her rigid, swollen corpse. I have named the thing that killed her, Janelle's plague. I have no skill at names. My own plague is different from hers, and has no name. When I move, a living flame runs through my bones, and my skin has gone gray and brittle. Each dawn when I wake, I find the bedclothes covered with bits of my flesh that have fallen away from my bones, and stained with blood from the wet, raw places beneath. The plague star is huge and bright above me, and now I understand why it's white. White is the color of purity. Ho, and the plague star purifies this land. Yet its touch corrupts and decays. There's a fine irony in that, is there not? We brought many weapons, sold few. The night hunters and the flyers can use no weapons against the thing that slays them, and from the first have put more faith in umbrellas than in lasers. I have armed myself with a flamer from our storeroom, and poured myself a glass of dark wine. I will sit here in the coolness and talk my thoughts to this crystal, and I will drink my wine and watch the flyers, the few who still live, as they dance and soar against the night. Far off they look so like shadow gulls above my living sea. I will drink my wine and remember how that sea sounded when I was a Boudicca boy who dreamed of stars. And when the wine is gone, I will use the flamer. I can think of no more words to say. Janelle knew many words and many names, but I buried her this morning. If my voice is ever found, if this is found after the plague star has waned, as the night hunters say it will, do not be deceived. This is no fair world, no world for life. Here is death, and plagues beyond numbering. The plague star will shine again. My wine is gone.